welcome everyone to episode 51 of the Standing 8 podcast. I'm Aaron Soria from Los Angeles. Joining me is the full podcast team of Michael Gomes from New Jersey, Tommy Russ Jr. from Texas, Courtney Tanner from Cali, who will be with us a little bit into the show, who's currently serving abroad. We can't stress enough how grateful we are for your service, Courtney, and reserving time out of your busy schedule to get on these episodes. So he'll be with us very soon. We'd also like to thank everyone who is currently watching this episode live, either on our Facebook page or at our home website, thestanding8podcast.com. We welcome your comments and questions on the live feed. This episode is also sponsored by Signature Realty New Jersey Estate Group, whom Michael Gomes is a part of. If you're interested in a property in the New Jersey area, you can hit him up at his agency Facebook page at facebook.com/realestatesoldbyme. The video replay of this episode will be on our YouTube channel, with the audio version on major listening platforms such as Spotify, Podcasts, and Spreaker. Now, before I hand it to Michael to moderate the rest of the show, let me give Will Montero the opportunity to give his opening statement. What's up, man? You got any opening words?
What? No, I'm just happy, just like everyone else. Top Rank Boxing, I just want to thank them and Bob Arum for bringing boxing back with the first show that happened this past Tuesday with Shakur Stevenson. So I'm super excited about that. Boxing is slowly but surely coming back, and we should be getting some good fights by September, October, November. We should definitely be getting some good fights. But thank you for having me on, by the way, Michael and yourself and the Standing 8 podcast team. Thank you for having me on.
Oh. One request. Can you lace this with your signature jingle that you always start off your show with? You know what I'm talking about?
Excuse me?
Can you lace this up with your signature welcoming to your, what you do with your thing?
Hey, I can do that for you. What's going on, my fellow boxing junkies, addicts, and fiends? You know who it is. Your boy, Big Will Steele, holding it down like only Big Will Steele can. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Michael, the podium is yours.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Aaron, great introduction. Will Montero from Sidestep Boxing, always a pleasure to have him on. He is as good as advertised as far as his excitement level and knowledge of boxing. My man Tommy Rush is on, and Courtney just logged on straight from overseas, as always, taking his time, although he is serving the country. So we do appreciate his time. So, gentlemen, let's talk boxing. It's been a while. I don't know about you guys, but I am done with the quarantine period. I have exhausted from it. I want to see some good boxing shows out there. We just got a glimpse of a little bit of boxing the other day, with Shakur Stevenson fighting with a 6-round TKO victory over Caraballo. And I know, obviously, like Will was saying, we are going to have a couple of bouts come September. And we're going to be talking about a couple of things out there that has surfaced in terms of news. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. And I'm coming after Tommy and Courtney about that.
Hey, bring that shit.
I'm coming. A surprise to me, by the way. Also, we want to recap the Shakur Stevenson fight that just happened. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about boxing and the landscape of boxing, how it's been affected by the quarantine, by COVID-19, and how it's going to, continue to be affected moving forward, and see if they can be as successful as Dana White and UFC have been lately with their basically fights behind closed doors. So let's talk a little bit about Shakur Stevenson. We just witnessed, obviously, him winning via TKO 6th round against Felix Caraballo. Who watched the fight? What was your reaction? And I'm going to start with Will. Will, I know you watched the fight. What was your? Is it a surprise? I mean, the kid's obviously full of talent. Do we call him a prospect at this point, or do we call him a star already? Because I feel like he's already he's at the brink of stardom. He's there, obviously. Top Rank has done a great job. Andre Ward has done a great job being his mentor. Bud Crawford's done a great job being his mentor as well. Obviously this is a kid that we're not only excited to see now, but we're excited to watch him evolve as a boxer through the divisions and through the rankings for the next 10, 15 years. He seems like that special type of talent. What was your reaction on his victory this past week?
Shakur Stevenson has grown so much right before my eyes. He's looking super impressive. And this was a non-title bout at 130 pounds. You spoke a lot about the COVID-19, everybody being on quarantine. He wanted to be one of the first fighters to be shown on TV fighting, and they got that accomplished. I really, really, honestly don't think, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. He's not there yet. There's a lot of fights at 126, which I don't think he's going back to 126. I honestly think he's going to stay at 130 pounds. And there's a lot of fights for him at 130 pounds also that he can make a big name for himself. One guy he's been targeting is Josh Warrington. Another guy he just hit up on Twitter was Leo Santa Cruz. Either one of those fights can propel him to another level. But I'm super impressed from what I'm seeing in Shakur Stevenson himself, his team, what Top Rank and Bob Arum, Todd DeBuff is doing with him. They're doing, and he's super confident. I love the kid's smile. He has it all. He has charisma. He has a smile. He's southpaw, and he can fight. So I'm super impressed with what I'm seeing from Shakur Stevenson.
Awesome take on the fight and an awesome take on Shakur Stevenson. Courtney, what's up, my man? It's been a while. I miss you, bro. What did you think of Shakur's debut at 130? And to what Will said, between Josh Warrington, Leo, also the talks of maybe a fight against Gary Russell, which I think right now, Gary Russell is not somebody to be taken lightly. Maybe perhaps he should not want that fight anytime soon for now. Not because I think that he'll lose, just Gary Russell is a tremendous, great fighter. The only L he has is against one of the top boxers in the world, Lomachenko, who some people have him as their top one on their pound for pound. Some people have him on the top two, top three, whatever the case may be. He's one of the top boxers in boxing today. But out of those three fighters, who do you think he should be fighting? And what was your reaction at Shakur at 130?
Well, I think he made it very apparent that he's done with 126. I don't expect to see him at 126 anymore. I think his body, I think his man strength has evolved to a point where, I think with discipline, and Stevenson has demonstrated himself to be a very disciplined fighter, and the right people working around you. Of course, I think he could make 126, but I don't think it would be very comfortable for him. And I think he would be. I would think we wouldn't really see the best. We wouldn't really see the best of him if he went back down to 126. I think the person he's ultimately gunning for, and the fight that can be made very easily with him being with Top Rank, is against Miguel Burchell at 130. I think ultimately, that's where his road is leading to. As far as his performance, I was very impressed. That's become the standard for Stevenson. I know when he first when he first turned pro, in his first few fights, there was a lot of talk about did he have enough pop in his punch, and that's one of those things. He went in the lab, he worked on, and he was very keen to show his detractors that he does have power, and that he can end fights early, and he can send guys home early. And I think what we saw the other night is the continuation of that narrative that he's drawn for himself. And I think that's the mark of the superstar. I think that's the mark of a great champion who's going to have a lot of great fights in him to come. Where he's right. He's writing the narrative. He's not allowing that narrative to be written by his detractors or be written by the media or the pundits like us. And so I think so I do see stardom in Stevenson's future. And right now, if there's anybody who, in this point in their career, is on the same trajectory that Floyd Mayweather was, I think it's Stevenson. if you look at where he is as far as weight, as far as skill, as far as ability, as far as pedigree, I think nobody else is on the same trajectory that Floyd Mayweather was right now as that Stevenson is at this point. So I see him staying at 130. I see him ultimately gunning for Miguel Burchell, and then with Leo Santa Cruz now having a belt at 130, I think that fight is viable. But I think as far as that fight being made, that's a long march off. I think we see him fight Burchell before we see him fight Leo Santa Cruz. And if he does fight Leo Santa Cruz, there's talk of that being a pay-per-view, a cross-promotional entity, and I think that's how they're going to brand that and market that.
Great points, great points. The one thing that I actually have seen very fascinating in the last year, let's say 12 to 16 months with Shakur, is how his body has developed. I've noticed that he's fit the 130 in terms of his physique pretty well. And obviously him being young, it seems that he can definitely follow in the footsteps of like Floyd and potentially be fighting at welterweight later on in his career. And maybe even at, maybe even potentially at 151, 154, who knows? I mean, only time will tell, but he's definitely developed his body, which means that they have the right nutritionists, they have the right physicians next to him, doctors, because that's not easy to do, right? If you don't do it the right way, that could be very problematic in terms of your career. We've seen a lot of boxers fail because of weight gains and be unsuccessful because they've gained too much weight too fast and they haven't been able to adapt to a certain division, to certain power, etc. Yeah. So definitely has the right resources behind him, and with Andre Ward, obviously with Buck Crawford behind his ear, and basically, I guess taking on that not just mentor but big brother type of role in his life. He's got the right people to lead him on to the great path that Floyd Mayweather obviously went on. So that's and he's got the right skill set. So I think as far as what he can achieve is going to be endless. Sky's the limit for him, maybe even above and beyond. So I think you're right. Some people might be sitting back home and saying that might be a far-fetched statement as far as comparing him to Floyd Mayweather. But if we look at their careers in terms of their ages and look at like for like, he is a boxer right now at the current stage that is shadowing Floyd's career. So that's a good point on your behalf.
So Mike, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you hand him over, I didn't answer one of the questions that you posed as far as Stevenson being a superstar or a prospect. I think the answer to that is somewhere it's in between right now. He's definitely on that star trajectory. Certainly he's certainly graduated from that prospect and that contender classification at this point. And I think we've seen performances beyond the other night or before the other night that warranted that. But I think I think it's long been confirmed that Stevenson has graduated from the prospect category.
Absolutely agreed. Tommy, I got a question for you that I didn't pose to either Will or Courtney. We threw out a couple of names out there right now. Which boxer do you think would be the perfect opponent for Shakur Stevenson in order for Shakur to get more of a global reach as far as his fan base? You have the likes of Josh Warrington out there, Leo Santa Cruz. Which boxer? You have Diaz Jr., Miguel Beltran. You have a couple boxers out there that we've thrown out. But who do you think would probably, from a career standpoint, would be best and most wise for Shakur Stevenson to fight?
I think right now, I was already gonna say Leo Santa Cruz. Now like Courtney said, I know that one may be a little bit more difficult to make, but I think that with the trajectory that we are seeing in Shakur, the size, the muscle mass that he's putting on, the charisma that he has, the excitement that we know that comes from a Leo Santa Cruz fight. You match up those two guys, that type of star power, that type of excitement, that quickness, that skill that's going to be in that ring, and it's going to get to a gritty fight, because we like to talk and compare Shakur to Floyd Mayweather because of the skills that he shows us. But one thing that we also saw in this fight was that he was willing to sit there with this weight that he's put on and bang it out on this dude and really show a little bit something different. And if we match him up with a Leo Santa Cruz, we know that that's what he's about. He's gonna get that hand shaking. He's gonna get that going, and it's gonna be a bout. And so I think that would be one of the best fights that we could see right now, as far as the trajectory that he's on, and match with that type of star power and that style make fight matchup.
Awesome. Aaron, obviously you were watching this past weekend. There were other fights besides Shakur Stevenson on. Were there any other fights that caught your eye during this past week that was televised?
Most of the fights were kind of, I mean, obviously there weren't big names, but one particular fight was Adam Blue Nose Lopez. I assume most of you saw that. Amazing performance. Volume punches. He made a statement, given that he lost a very hard fight against Oscar Valdez. So that was the second most, in my view, favorite fight outside of Shakur Stevenson. So it's going to be I'm very excited to see what Blue Nose Lopez does in the post COVID-19 pandemic shutdown era.
Gotcha. Will, any fights that caught your eye this past week?
Yeah, that one. Aaron said it for me. Adam Blue Nose Lopez, he was in tough. This was his first fight, if I'm correct, under the Top Rank promotion, like him being protected by Top Rank. They did him no favors. They threw him in there with a young, very talented, very aggressive 21-year-old that comes out of the Robert Garcia camp. So if you come out of that gym, you're coming to fight. You're hungry. You have some solid technique. Blue Nose started off kind of shaky. I'm like, man, what's up with this kid, man? He's just sitting in there and getting blasted away. Then Buddy McGirt, everyone knows Buddy McGirt, heck of a trainer, got in his ear, said, hey, better get on that. You better start boxing. And Blue Nose took his advice and boxed beautifully. I was super impressed with Adam Lopez. Super, super impressed. I want to see what he does at 126, and probably if he can get a rematch with Oscar Valdez later. No, Oscar Valdez moving up to 130. But I want to see a lot more of Adam Lopez in the near future.
Awesome. Now, digressing here for a little bit and transitioning on to another topic that I'm pretty excited to talk about. Staring at you, Courtney. And I'm going to open up the mic right to Courtney Tanner because we've been going back and forth for over a year now. So Tyson Fury, we just heard Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua reached a 2-fight deal. I was actually in Florida, and I think Aaron posted it up on the Pound for Pound group on Facebook, and I was shocked because I did not think that they would have a fight without Deontay having his third or rematch it's the third fight, but a rematch or the ability to try to avenge his very, very poor performance from last time. I had to throw that in there. So, what is your reaction to this? Because this is big news in the boxing world, especially in the heavyweight division. It's a 2-fight agreement. I don't know the specs to it. I don't know the details to it. I'm sure you probably know a little bit more than I do. Are you surprised? Was there any money, step aside money paid to Deontay? What's going on? Why isn't Deontay fighting Tyson Fury? What happened here? I wanted to see Bomb Squad get a chance to come.
Well, from what I'm hearing or what I'm reading is that the agreement is done. It's pretty much a deal in principle right now. Nothing has been signed. Frank Warren is the words coming out of his mouth are a little different than what's coming out of Eddie Hearn's mouth. What's coming from Joshua is a little bit different from what's coming from Fury. So I think the thing that is really not clear right now is Anthony Joshua gonna honor his mandatories, or at least one of them? And is Tyson Fury going to is he going to honor his contract obligation to run it back with Deontay Wilder? So as far as, I mean, it's definitely exciting news. It's definitely, I'm thrilled to death as anybody is that these two have agreed in principle. But I mean, until I see something that's signed and I see Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and Bob Arum, who also co-promotes Tyson Fury, basically sing off the same sheet music. I'm saying I'm pretty much of the opinion that Deontay Wilder is going to get the third fight, and I think he's going to crash that party. I still maintain that. But if it doesn't happen where Deontay Wilder gets directly back in with Fury and it takes the third fight, we know that that Deontay Wilder is coming off surgery, and I think it might be a strategic idea. It might be a strategic decision from Deontay Wilder in his camp, and maybe Al Heyman in his ear saying, "Hey, you need to rest off this injury, or you might need to take an interim fight or interim fights before you go back in with Fury." Because I mean, hey, I'm a Deontay Wilder fan. I'm bomb squad down to the socks. But I'm just as adamant about anybody else that he got his ass whooped. That's plain as Jane. Yeah, I mean, as far as my opinion on that, I'm pretty much of the wait and see, because I haven't heard or read anything that makes it definitive that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua have entered into a two-fight deal. Am I excited about that prospect as anybody else? Obviously, anybody who knows me knows I'm all about that unification. I'm all about that one face, that one name holding all four belts. And I think that's where the heavyweight division needs to get to. I think that's where boxing needs to get to. And that is that's a fight that's going to be good. That's a fight that's good for boxing globally. That's also a fight that's going to be an immense source of pride for the people over in the UK. And I think we all are smart enough to know that the UK is very much the spiritual home of the sport that we love. And when they do it big over there, they do it big for all of us. So, but me also as a patriot, I will never be okay with all four of those belts or any of those belts sitting over there in England. So you know what I'm saying? My heart will not be I will not be contented. My heart will not rest until those belts come home rightfully where they belong, to American soil. But in the interim, if we're gonna see an Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight, put me down for two.
Absolutely. I know you're a fan of the sport, so I know you'd be excited about that matchup. Will, I know that you're privy to some of the information that sometimes we're not too privy to. Where there is smoke, there tends to be fire. What have you heard as far as that, fight coming to fruition?
Hey, I'm promoting it. I respect what Courtney is saying, but that fight has to happen. It's the only logical. With all due respect to Usyk, tremendous fighter, did his thing at cruiserweight. I don't care if he's mandatory for the WBO. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. We want one heavyweight undisputed champion, and that's between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Now, from what I'm hearing is Deontay Wilder is going to get the third fight. That fight is going to happen by the end of 2020, from what I'm hearing. Everything is a go. Everything is looking good. Now, for Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury to fight, Tyson Fury has to beat Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua has to beat Kubrat Pulev for this fight, for them to have that big, massive showdown in the UK between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley says, "Oh, man, what is Tyson Fury doing looking past Deontay Wilder? He should not give him more ammunition to train harder and get better." I have to disagree with I love Andre Ward, but I have to disagree with him and Timothy Bradley. Tyson Fury is so confident and the display that Deontay Wilder showed in the second fight, the flaws are glaring. I don't see him doing anything different in the third fight to derail a fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Do I love Deontay Wilder, what he stands for, how he's carried himself, becoming a world champion? I'm all for it. But now he's fighting a fighter that's just more superior, way better than Deontay Wilder, and I don't see Deontay Wilder doing anything in the third fight. So looking forward, 2021, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury is going to happen. I know it for a fact. Well, unless they lose, it's going to happen. 2021 is going to be Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua for all the marbles.
I'll tell you this. I agree with you as far as Tyson Fury beating Deontay. Anthony Joshua's got his hands full with Pulev.
He does. I agree.
So if the party's going to get spoiled, it gets spoiled because of Pulev.
Yes.
And I can see it. I can see it happening. I mean, I have Anthony Joshua edging on that fight. I think he'll win. And I think that Anthony Joshua is smart enough to make any type of adjustment, based on what we saw on his last fight. He was able to make great adjustments to be able to retain his belt back. So he could. But Pulev is a handful. I don't think the Tyson Fury Deontay third fight is going to play any different than what we saw. And well, I can't say that because I can't say play any different. I can see the fight going 12 rounds. I do see Tyson winning, but then again, also we don't know what type of mindset Tyson's coming in. Right, that's always been the factor. Like if he continues to have the same mindset that he's had the last year and a half, 2 years, not just the confidence, but just be able to work hard. His psyche is good, healthy, right? Then it should not be a problem him beating Deontay. But again, if Deontay is the type of guy that has that one punch power, although I do think that Tyson is even more confident now than ever before because he's tasted that power already before twice. And he's gotten up, rose from the dead, as most of you guys have said. So it'll be interesting. I mean, going back to the Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, that'll be an interesting fight because they're both very technical. But, I mean, I have Tyson Fury. In my opinion, Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the division right now. I think he beats Anthony Joshua. I'm not going to say without a problem because – Anthony Joshua could be a formidable opponent for him, but I just think that Tyson Fury, the way he is, too slick in the ring, his IQ, I don't think he gets enough credit as far as his boxing IQ. He's got a huge amount of intelligence when he's in the ring. He's very smart. So I think it's enough for him to beat Anthony Joshua without a problem. Tommy, I know you bomb squad to your socks too, so what is your opinion about this 2-fight deal? And now that we're talking about Tyson Fury, Deontay third fight, I mean, what is your prediction of that fight as well?
So, yeah, I'm bomb squad, man. But I gotta.
You look like a guy's lost a lot of money betting on that second fight.
No.
And I'm looking at Courtney's reaction.
Hey, when it comes to the bet money, I don't look too many times, man. Now, hold on with that. But I'm bomb squad. But I agree with you guys. I mean, we got to call things down the line the way that they are and the way that we actually see it, and the way that is not biased about it. And I can be down for what Deontay does and squad all day, but Fury has got the dude's number. Some boxers, some fighters, some champions have other guys' number. And as you guys mentioned, his skill and his psyche and things that he does to pressure. It's not just physically, it's mentally. And he does it for a long period of time. It's draining. Everything is more than that 40, 50 pounds. So, it gets to you. And I just think that dude, I don't really think that there's anything that Deontay would be able to do in that third fight that would really show us that, we really needed to see that. I mean, now he always had. Now I'll say this: I also agree that Fury would hand Joshua everything that he can handle and more, and I just think that would be embarrassing, to be honest. Like I'm not as impressed as some people were with his last showing, overall, but I think the Fury is going to light him up and tear him to shreds as well. So, I think that Bomb Squad and Deontay has the best chance overall because of he's got that lightning in a bottle that he can pop you with. But other than that, I think Fury's got the goods right now, man. And he's, as long as he stays physically and mentally in shape, it's a problem for anybody.
Do you think that Deontay comes back in the ring with that 40-pound vest?
Hell. They gonna come with feathers and clouds. Ain't doing that.
Okay, I hope not. Aaron, what is your reaction to that 2-fight deal? You were the first one, obviously, who posted in a group, so you're basically the one that broke the news to a lot of the people in the group, not just in the panel here, but also the group. And going back to Tyson Fury, Deontay, who do you think wins that fight? Can Deontay make the right adjustments to be able to become victorious that fight, or do you think Tyson Fury repeats history again and shows the world that he's a superior boxer?
Let me first address the contingent 2-fight deal with Joshua and Fury. I think Fury will have a relatively easier time to satisfy his end of the deal. As far as Joshua, his destiny is not sealed yet. He has a lot of tough challenges on his side that he has to fight against. You got Pulev. I know this name I'm gonna mention. Not everyone's fond of Dillian White. He's in the peripheral. So after Joshua, he has some homework to do. But as far as Tyson Fury, for the third fight with Deontay Wilder, I'm a Wilder fan as well. But Wilder, he has to show us something outside of the right hand and incorporate that somewhat consistently in the third fight for him to give him a chance. Because if he's just there, just super focused on somehow being super defensive until he finds that opening with the right hand, he's not going to win. He has to, show us some aspect, some other offensive arsenal that he can incorporate into the third fight and do that consistently. And hopefully that will lead to new avenues, new maneuvers for him to get that that savored knockout that he's been trying to get at from the second fight. So hopefully it's gonna be very interesting. But again, if that doesn't happen, I got Fury winning convincingly in the third fight.
Preach! Oh, preach! A great opinion, great notion on the on your take on a fight. I think that, and you brought up something that's very valuable, something that we've spoken before in the past, and I think a lot of us share the same sentiment. And there's this argument, Deontay's what right now? 34, 33? What is it? How old is he right now? Anybody know? 34. So a lot of argument out there that people think that even at the age of 34, he can make those adjustments. Now, Deontay's been boxing. He started boxing at a later age than most boxers, but he's been in boxing for well over a decade. And at his age right now, it's going to be very difficult to break him from what has been very successful for him, which is his power in his right hand. He's not going to be, I don't believe he's the type of boxer, and not because not him himself, but it's very hard for any boxer at that age to be able to make certain adjustments, not because of their age, but because they're so used to doing something all the time the same exact way. And it's going to be a habit that in boxing, it's extremely hard. right? Look, we look at another boxer like Triple G, right? A lot of people thought that Triple G would adapt a different style under new management, and we all saw that. I mean, at his age, it's difficult to be able to break away from what's been successful basically your entire career as a boxer. So the argument is, will Deontay make those adjustments and adapt a new style, or will he continue to stick to what was, what made him successful, what made him the boxer that he is today, what's made him the brand that he is in boxing today? As much as I'll joke around about Deontay, he has put the heavyweight division back in the map in the last couple of years because of his sheer knockout power. People do go watch him because they believe he's got a little bit of that Mike Tyson-ness in him, where he's taking people out. I'm of the mindset I will spend $50, $60, $70 to watch somebody get brutally beat up within the first 2-3 rounds, if not the first round. I'm okay with that. And guess what? I'm not the only one that's okay with it. That's why people watch Deontay box. They watch him because they expect him to knock people out, like the British say, knockout spark, or not. I think something to that effect. But that's what Deontay has done successfully for 30 semi-fights. To expect him to break away from what's made him successful is not only foolish on his part, but foolish on our part. And I know that he's not a foolish individual, so he's going to go back in there in the ring with the thought that he can knock Tyson Fury out. Because he did knock Tyson Fury not out, but twice in the first fight. So he was successful at, taking Tyson out. He just wasn't successful at, keeping Tyson Fury in the mat for more than 10.1112 seconds. I know you guys are looking at me, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I got a question for y'all.
Go.
So now, talking Deontay Wilder, one of the biggest things that I think that we missed out on is, what if Deontay Wilder would have really, really utilized learning that Lennox Lewis jab?
You're talking about years ago?
Yeah, years ago.
I think he has.
But I mean, really, he dropped that. And there's been plenty of fights in the last week where we've been looking for him to use that jab, and he did use it, years and years ago. But he's abandoned it a lot. It just, if he really added that to something serious and consistent to his arsenal in the game, instead of being so heavy on his right hand, what do y'all think that we saw out of this dude? The athleticism, the awkwardness, and adding that to it, like you said, Mike. He has the Mike Tyson portion, but who was one of the dudes that shut Mike Tyson's ass down? Lennox.
Correct. I'm going to let Courtney answer that question because he's eager to do so.
Well, I think Wilder has used that jab very keenly. I think that what we saw is just it was neutralized. Luis Ortiz neutralized it, and Tyson Fury he was out of range. And basically, to have an effective jab, you have to be able to get in range. And Tyson Fury is, he was out of it. So, and then as far as Luis Ortiz, is another way to neutralize a strong jab is to use one against that jab, and Luis Ortiz is very adept at doing that. So I think, I think as far as Deontay Wilder abandoning the jab, I got to disagree. Do I think he developed it to where it should have been at this point, or it could have been a very, very effective weapon for him? No, because I think he developed it, and I think that jab evolved as a means to simply set up that right hand. And as we all know, as we all people who watch boxing, is that a jab can be used it can be used offensively, it can be used defensively, it can be used it can be used a number of ways. And I think Deontay Wilder, he adopted the jab, it evolved, but as far as having a varied jab where it can be used for different purposes, we never saw that from Wilder. So I'm saying, I'll give you that in that sense. But I mean, as far as when you're operating at this level of the game, against dudes like Ortiz, against dudes like Tyson Fury, if that jab is not fully developed, it's not fully evolved, it gets exploited. And so I think those are two instances where we saw people do just that with Tyson, with Wilder's jab.
Yeah, and to touch on that, I don't think Deontay's problem is his jab. I think it's actually his footwork, his inability to, set up range. And if you look at his feet, you could just tell that there, from a technical standpoint, I think that's what his biggest flaw is. I have to agree with with Courtney, as far as, he's established a much better jab today than he had 5-6 years ago. There's actually a video with him and Lennox Lewis. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, many years ago, where they're somewhere on the street at nighttime, and you could see the amount of respect that Deontay has for Lennox, and Lennox is showing him, basically the technique of throwing the proper jab. And I think that he did make that adjustment years ago.
That's the one that I'm referring to.
Yeah, but the footwork just isn't there. And, again, and I have to agree with Courtney, when you have a guy like Luis Ortiz, who he could be 70 years old right now, but is a great, great technical fighter. Luis Ortiz might be 1-2 best technical fighters in the heavyweight division. He could be old, right? But as far as technicality, he's up there. And then you have a guy like Tyson Fury, again, also very good technical. And then on top of that, his size and height pose a big problem for a jab for Deontay. Then those two guys, it's easy for them to neutralize Deontay's jab. But you did see him, utilize it effectively against Devern in the first fight. You saw him, utilize it effectively many other fights before, and it was a means to set up the right hand, and he's done that, quite well. If there was any adjustment he's made in the last couple of years, I have to say it has been his jab. His lack of footwork is just, to me, enables him, or doesn't enable him to utilize it well when you face a guy like Luis Ortiz or Tyson Fury, and even a guy like Anthony Joshua can pose problems for him. That's where I think Anthony Joshua has the upper hand on a fight. His disadvantage is his chin. His advantage is the fact that, from a technical standpoint, I think Anthony Joshua is superior than Deontay. But again, his disadvantage is obviously his chin. Will, would you care to weigh in about Deontay as far as his jab and lack of, or I don't know what you would.
I also got an add-on question.
I wasn't agree that Deontay was going to lose that second fight. But I'm gonna let you continue.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not here to bash Deontay, but I have to.
You are here to bash Deontay.
Hey, I have to get things off my chest. All right, so Deontay says Tyson Fury can't hurt him. Cool, can't hurt him. So I believe that. I took him for face value. Can't hurt him. Then he comes and he's there trying to box. If Tyson Fury is chasing you, seek and destroy, stalking you, and that's the reason why I'm saying that is, besides the jab, okay? Tyson Fury is skilled enough to get past Deontay's jab, even if it was a Lennox Lewis jab. Every fighter can get past the jab, all right? Here and there in the 12-round fight. Deontay Wilder cannot fight on the inside. His inside game is horrible. It's beyond horrible. So Tyson Fury has him any which way he wants to. Deontay should have learned this. He did start in boxing rather late, but it's just he's too far behind. Even with a jab, with a educated jab like a Lennox Lewis, he would still have issues because his inside game is not good. I didn't see Deontay Wilder clinch when he should have clinched, and he's just, like everyone is saying, Courtney and Mike, he's just setting up that right hand for everything. Man, it's tough, man. It's just, he lost me after he says Tyson Fury can't hurt me, and then he's just there like a deer in headlights and lets Tyson Fury just walk him down and bang him up and slap him up a few times. So I'm having an issue with Deontay Wilder right now. I was yelling with him. bomb squad. And then I'm like, what the hell did this guy just do in the second fight? So jab or no jab.
The vest. That's what happened. The vest.
The vest. I forgot. Yeah. No hope for Deontay, man. I'm sorry. I apologize, but no hope.
Aaron, you're frazzled. I don't know. It looks like you want to put the cape on for Deontay right now.
No. I wanted Will to reiterate. He made a point on his show yesterday that Deontay he doesn't have enough time to incorporate anything new. Do you want to elaborate more on that point, Will, that you said yesterday?
Oh yeah, he's not that he's hard-headed. I'm not saying Deontay is hard-headed, but he's stuck with the team. He's gone this far. He's gonna stay loyal to them. He's gonna listen to them. He's going with the same. I don't see him changing the game plan when they're both in the ring for the trilogy. I just don't see Deontay doing anything special or have enough time to change anything in how many months? They fought back in, what was it, February or March? And they'll fight again in November, December. Not enough time. I don't care who they bring into the training camp, what technique they work on. It's going to be the same Deontay Wilder. Can he land that right hand? Absolutely. 10-ounce gloves, a heavyweight puncher like Deontay Wilder? Absolutely. But that's his only hope. If he doesn't land that right hand or changes, okay. I don't even care if he lands the right hand. But I feel like Tyson Fury is going to come with the same exact game plan. He's going to walk him down. He's going to try to stay in his chest, not let him get that leverage to land that right hand. Deontay Wilder is going to have to bend at the knees and let's see who's man and let's work. But I don't see Deontay Wilder shortening up his punches because on the inside, you can't just gain leverage and throw that massive right hand. So, I mean, it's just tough for me to explain. It's so much Deontay Wilder has to work on and get better in 5 to 6 months that he's not going to be able to. And it's going to be the same outcome in the third fight.
Damn, I thought that fight was already like months and months and months ago. And it just happened in February, so it's not even that long ago. I don't know why in my back of my mind I'm like, no, that fight took place in 2019. It's recent February. I'm like, wait, we're still in June.
And before the coronavirus, they were supposed to be back in the ring. Well, they were supposed to be back in the ring. What in July or August?
Yeah.
Nah, man, that would
have been disastrous for Deontay. July, like going into the rematch in July, to me, and I know Courtney agreed, way too soon, way too early. You might have seen exact replay of the second fight, but ending within the first 2-3 rounds if it came in that early. So the fact that he had surgery and he's more fresh, I think he's had more time to replay the fight in his mind and watch it a couple of times. Anything that's possible in the third fight. I mean, the sentiment obviously seems like the general consensus here is that he's not going to take away a victory. At this point, it's almost like, I think a lot of us are saying, like, I'd be shocked if Deontay wins the third fight. Whereas I think leading up to the second fight, some of you had him picked to win the second fight. And it was like 50-50, the consensus. Like Tyson Fury wins, Deontay wins. It was 50-50. Even myself, as much as I thought that Tyson would win, I always said it wouldn't surprise me that if Deontay wins that fight.
Mike, sorry, I just want to put that out. I want to put this out there. Everybody, I'm not going crazy. I'm not losing my mind. I've been, ever since the announcement or even before the announcement, I've been thinking about this. I have, believe it or not, if they fight, I have Anthony Joshua pulling off a massive upset against Tyson Fury in the first fight. Just the first fight. I'm just throwing that out there. I have Anthony Joshua beating Tyson Fury in the first fight. Just the first fight. And if Aaron was on the show yesterday, I said that, and I just want to continue to say, whoever's watching, when Anthony Joshua pulls it off, just remember Big Will said Anthony Joshua's going to win.
Hey.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm feeling this, or why this is coming out of my mouth. I just feel like Anthony Joshua's going to pull it off in the first fight. Then in the rematch, Tyson Fury will pull away, and then the third fight, he'll stop Anthony Joshua. But for the first fight, I'm saying Anthony Joshua beats Tyson Fury. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. Anthony Joshua in the first fight beats Tyson Fury.
Well, Courtney, you were going to respond to it.
I said, since we're on here making bold predictions, I don't even see this as bold because I've been saying this from Jump Street, and I'm going to keep saying it. I don't think we get to a Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua fight. I think Deontay Wilder beats him in 10 in the third fight. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
In 10. Deontay Wilder in 10 in the third fight. Hey, Gomes, hey, we got 100 on that. You know what I'm saying? We got 100 on the whole thing. Hey, I want my money. I want my money.
Look, my brethren D-Rock wanted to bet that fight, the second fight, and I didn't want to, and I did. He almost forced me, and I did, and unfortunately I had to take his money, and I'd be just as glad to take your money.
I want to get paid in ones. I want to get paid in ones because I'm going to the strip club after. So you know what I'm saying? I want my money in ones.
I'll pay you in pennies if you want. I don't care. Money's money, right? However you want it. Bold prediction, definitely bold prediction. Moving on from Tyson Fury and Deontay, because we could talk about it for hours. Let's transition over to the lightweight division. What's going on? Has anyone heard about the Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez fight? What's the, is there a date? I heard something about potentially, Bob Arum changes his mind all the time, but apparently a fight where they're going to limit the fans to 2,500 and to 10,000. Who knows? Has anybody heard? Does anybody have any information regarding when potentially that fight? Because it's getting stale.
They're trying to do it this fall in Vegas at the new Raiders Stadium. They're going to have social distancing in the stadium, so it's going to be the stadium. I think the stadium can seat about something like 80,000 people, but they're going to limit it to like 10,000 people. And I just know it's supposed to be this fall, like something like September or October. But that's what's been floated. As far as that's also one of those things where it's been talked about in principle, but from how Teofimo has been sounding, I'm really starting to doubt his resolve to take that fight. Because we all know with Teofimo, he's already having trouble getting down to 135, and then also with this COVID epidemic, we know that Teofimo and his camp and his doctors were very worried because Teofimo does have some underlying medical conditions that made him particularly susceptible to the virus. So I mean, I don't think the virus itself is affecting him physically, but I think as far as mentally, I think where Teofimo Lopez was basically on some, hey, let's go ahead and get this fight done. Let's get this fight signed and made while I can still make the weight. And just as they were on the verge of making that happen, this COVID hit. And now I think where Teofimo is mentally is he's thinking, is this, is this virus going to get me? Am I going to fall victim? Am I going to be irreparably damaged? So I think it's one of those things where you've got that on your mind. You really don't have a training camp, or you really don't have staying in the gym on your mind. So I think, I wouldn't be surprised to see the fight happen. But at this point, I really think that Teofimo Lopez is going to come out on the other end of this more focused or more geared at going ahead and furthering his legacy at 140, as opposed to staying in the holding pattern for this fight against Lomachenko. And you guys know I was very vocal. I was one of the main people on the top of my lungs. The takeover is coming. I really saw and have belief in Teofimo Lopez beating Lomachenko. I don't see that too much anymore. And I don't see it for anything other than what's changed is the mindset of Teofimo Lopez. I think if he does go in there against Lomachenko, I think he goes in there with a lot of other things on his mind other than Lomachenko, And you can't do that. You can't do that against, you know what I'm saying, a guy who's universally recognized as 1, 2, or one of the 3 top pound for pound fighters in the world. You know what I'm saying? I think where he's at as far as his limited experience at the top level, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, in comparison with Lomachenko's pedigree and you know what I'm saying, Lomachenko's superior skill set, I think you know, I think if it happens at 135, you know what I'm saying, I'm sliding back and I'm saying Lomachenko, I fully expect him to beat Teofimo Lopez if it happens now at 135.
Not as bold of a prediction as your prediction prior to it, but good prediction, definitely. And I share that sentiment as well.
Like I said, that's not a bold prediction. That's not a bold prediction. That's made in utmost belief that I will take your money.
You can take it. You can take it. I'd be happy to pay you, Aaron. Since we're on the topic of Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, you know, what's your prediction if that fight does obviously come to fruition? And what have you been hearing besides the fact, you know, besides the stuff that Courtney just mentioned regarding, you know, potentially, you know, hosting the fight at the Oakland Raiders Stadium?
I pretty much know what Courtney already stated. As far as the fight itself, I'm still giving the benefit to Lomachenko to win that fight. Despite his tough wins recently against the likes of Linares and such, I still haven't seen anyone that has, you know, derailed his momentum yet. So no other fighter has yet to change my mind about Lomachenko's momentum going forward. So it's going to be a really tough fight, an exciting fight should that fight happen with against Teofimo. But as of right now, my sentiment hasn't changed since the beginning. I still see Lomachenko getting the better of that fight against Teofimo. I
agree. I definitely agree. That's my sentiments as well. Lomachenko is just a special breed. Tommy, I think you were on the other side of this whole conversation. I think you had Teofimo, or you were picking Teofimo.
No, don't try to me over too easy. I know how you do, bruh. So I was, in the sense of kind of like what Courtney was saying. I was seeing to where he was gaining a little bit more, but it wasn't enough to give Teofimo, you know, the leverage in the situation. Did we see a little bit more of a shot? Yes, but you know, for some people, this COVID-19 has really impacted them in good ways. You know, a la like a Spence, you know, for example. But for Teofimo, I don't think so much. You know, and so I think that you know, I don't think that this is going to be that much of an impact to Loma. So I do think that this is something that he's losing some leverage. He's losing some steam right now. And safe money would be on Loma, absolutely.
Safe money is always on Lomachenko. Will, what is your prediction? If that fight does occur, what's your prediction regarding it? And have you heard anything outside of the norm that we just talked about? And then we're going to transition over to a couple other names in that same division.
Hey, you're on mute,
you're
man.
On mute. Unmute yourself.
You
get yourself on mute.
Yep.
Hello.
Now you're
I just said I gotta take my hats off to Courtney. Courtney said everything word for word what I was gonna say. Spot on. Everything he said. I have, if there's any of the lightweights that can beat Lomachenko, I would say it was Lopez. But with everything that Courtney just said about Teofimo Lopez, I have to agree with him 100%. Lomachenko, besides, you know, the issues that Lopez is having right now, I just feel like Lomachenko is a complete fighter and the best at 135 pounds. I also have him winning by unanimous decision if they were to fight this coming fall.
Gotcha. So I'm actually looking at an article right now as we speak from Boxing News 24, and I haven't seen Teofimo as far as his appearance lately. And there's no way, if this fight was to happen in the next 45, 60 days, there's no way he's making 135. No way. He looks massive. Wow.
But do you think he does like a Maurice Hooker, Regis Prograde? Like, I can't make 35 anymore, so sorry, I can't take that fight. I'm moving up to 40.
You had to bring that up, huh?
I'm sorry. It was my mistake. I apologize.
I definitely think that's the move right there. I definitely think that's what's.
And you guys might be right, because I don't know if you guys have seen this article from. It's a day old. He looks huge. Like this guy's not making 135.
And that's what I meant by when I said COVID has done good for some people, and for him, not so much.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Not for this fight. Or maybe this is good for him. Nope. Well, we'll end up seeing how that plays out.
But is he in a tough position, because people are anticipating this fight? You know, the two best lightweights in the world. He just had a sensational knockout by Richard Comey. So I feel like his back is against the wall. He's gonna have to take the fight. Like, I don't know if he's gonna have to cut a couple toes or an arm. He's gonna have to make 135 pounds and face Vasily Lomachenko, because they've been talking on social media to boxing outlets. So I feel like that fight has to happen, and I do want to see it happen.
Wow. Yeah, I think the general consensus, everybody wants to see that fight happen, right? I think that fight's probably gained a little bit more popularity than the talks of, like, Lomachenko fighting Tank Davis. That's where I think it's at right now. As far as the boxing pundits, as far as mainstream and just people that don't watch boxing generally, they want to still continue to watch, or they would like to watch a Tank Davis versus Lomachenko fight. But for us that watch it closely, I think this is the fight that intrigues us the most, because Teofimo's got, rare power. He really does. Got the ability to hurt anybody. And that's always an X factor in boxing, right? So it'll be interesting to see. But I think I have to agree with you, Courtney. I have to agree with you, Will. I don't think that guy that I just saw on Boxing News 24, I don't think that guy makes weight. I don't think I think he's already looking past Lomachenko. I think he's going to fight, to be honest with you. And you might see the same thing happen between Regis and Maurice, which is sad. Regis has been on our podcast a couple of times. He's a standing 8 regular, and we were all rooting for him to get that fight and watch him back in the ring. And obviously that's not going to happen. And that was going to be a big fight. Definitely a big fight. Also, there's other names, obviously, in the 135 division. You have Tank Davis. You have Ryan Garcia, who's been making a big splash in terms of the popularity level. Not in the ring so much, although he did make a statement his last fight. But as far as, if you look at his social media, he is one of the most popular boxers in boxing right now, for whatever reason it is. And then you have, obviously, Linares, and you have Warrington. So, Courtney, out of those 4 fighters that I mentioned, or 5 fighters, who do you want to see most step back into the ring?
Ryan Garcia, man. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of criticism. I know there's a lot of haterism on him because, he's doing the social media thing. It seems like he has more female fans than actual boxing fans, or basically fans who are fans of him based on what he looks like, based on the charisma factor. There's times where it kind of seems like Ryan Garcia is trying to be a pop star more than a boxer or whatever. But when he gets in the ring, every time he's gotten in the ring, Ryan Garcia has shown that he is who he says he is. And basically that, I'm gonna be real. I'm not quite a fan yet, but I have tremendous respect
Lost you there for a second.
And the skill set. I mean, basically, he hasn't been in against anybody who is, you know what I'm saying, who is, very noteworthy or who is very eye-catching. But you know what? The level of competition he's been in against so far, he does exactly what he's supposed to do, and that's make exciting fights against guys, that's get guys out early, and that's just showcase a lot of skill and that killer instinct, and that basically that will to finish guys, and give the crowd what they want and what they paid for. So I mean, as far as who I'm excited to see get back in the ring, it's Ryan Garcia, because I want to see where this thing goes with him. I want to see where this progresses, as far as what he does in the ring and how that complements the buzz he's getting outside. Shakur Stevenson. I think if anybody is on the same trajectory that Oscar De La Hoya was at this point in his career, it's Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia doesn't have the pedigree that Oscar De La Hoya is. We all know that Oscar was coming in as as an amateur world champion and gold medalist, a guy who won 300 amateur fights before he even turned pro. Ryan Garcia obviously isn't that, but I think Ryan Garcia, for all the hype he's getting, for all the attention he's getting, he's backing it up by being in the gym, being in shape, working on his craft, and demanding to fight better guys. And I think for somebody in Ryan Garcia's position, that's all he really can do is continue to demand that he be given a platform to show and prove. And I hope Oscar continues to do good by him. I think Oscar is quickly realizing that as far as the goal is stable, Ryan Garcia, that's it, because the relationship with him and Canelo is shaky. So that's where I see it, and that's where I see that going. And so if it's anybody who I want to see back in the ring at 135, it's definitely Ryan Garcia.
Great points. And when Ryan Garcia does step in that ring, he does mean business all the time. And his physical appearance doesn't coincide with his mean demeanor once he's laced up and in that ring. Tommy, I mentioned 5 boxers. Which one of those 5 do you want to see, or that you're most excited about watching again, hopefully in the next couple of months?
I want to see Tank get back in there, man. I mean, I'm saying, like, I would definitely say that Ryan is the second one, and seeing them both in there together would be great, since they do a lot of popping off at the Twitter fingers together, and at each other, and talking about their sales and their contracts and all of that. They trying to spice that up, but I want to see Tank. I want to see what Tank's gonna do next. I want to see where he goes. I want to see him against some real good competition. I want to see him doing more than what he's been doing right now, and just see him come out on top. I mean, that dude, he's fierce. I mean, that dude is nasty, and I want to watch that. I want to see that nasty. I want to see somebody bringing it. Ryan, he puts on a great show, but like Courtney said, sometimes it does give a little bit of the, it's being led into with the ghost of Oscar De La Hoya vibe. It's just it's carrying on that legacy, and I want to see that nasty legacy. I want to see that Tyson-like stuff. I want to see somebody out there banging on somebody. So give me Tank.
Hey, can I redirect real quick though?
Absolutely.
As far as Tank Davis, what I'm saying, I agree with Tommy all day. Like, Tank Davis he's an exciting fighter. He's animalistic. What I'm saying, and he's got that tinge of unpredictability in that, what I'm saying, you really don't know what you're gonna get, but it's gonna be something intriguing. So what I'm saying, I definitely feel where people are coming from, what I'm saying, as far as wanting to see Tank Davis and wanting to see him every time he goes in there. The thing that's turned me off personally about Tank Davis, and it is ironically the thing I've defended him on, previously, his lack of discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like with Tank, it's gotten to be really freaking childish as far as, you know what I'm saying, as far as what he's involved with. And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to put a hashtag Me Too on this or whatever in light of his legal, you know what I'm saying, issues or whatever. It's not about that. But you know what I'm saying, it's about those things as far as, you know what I'm saying, where I can have, you know what I'm saying, a little more respect for Ryan Garcia, is that you can tell Ryan Garcia is completely bought into the craft. With Tank Davis, not so much. That's, you know what I'm saying, when I see Tank Davis, I see a fighter who has become very enamored with the chains, very enamored with becoming a hip hop figure, in person who's not so much focused on perfecting his craft. So because of that, I do see Tank Davis having a very limited shelf life. You know what I'm saying? I think in 2 to 3 years, we're not going to be talking about Tank Davis the same way we're talking about Ryan Garcia.
Ooh.
Well, that's why we need to see him now.
That's a valid point, Courtney, because he's had issues with, in terms of lack of, when you're talking about the lack of commitment, you're referring to maybe a couple of things. I would say he's had issues making weight already. When you talk about lack of commitment to his craft, you know, obviously issues in terms of legal issues outside of the ring. You know, there's obviously a video that went viral of him and I don't know if it's the mother of his child or somebody who he's dating, a girlfriend, etc., where he's basically dragging her by the hair. That went viral. And Tank needs to get back in the gym, and he needs to get back in that ring, because his last fight, although being the first fight, I think at 135, and maybe I'm wrong there, but it was his first fight at 135 against Gamboa, a seasoned guy. But and some of you owe me an apology, because I did tell you guys that Gamboa did tore his Achilles in that fight. But he fought a guy that was hurt after that second round. You know, and I know when an Achilles is hurt, I could tell. Gamboa wasn't right. And I'm not saying Gamboa was going to win the fight. I'm just saying that he didn't have. It's not that Tank had a hard time against Gamboa, because he didn't. He maybe lost 1 or 2 rounds in that fight, and it went 12 rounds. But how much of that pain, how much of that physical hindrance that Gamboa had, that could have maybe altered Tank's showing in that fight? Would Tank look as good as he did? Who knows? Nobody knows, right? But and Tank went up a division and had a hard time making weight for that fight. So that's a reflection of his commitment, which Courtney was touched based on. And you're probably right. He probably doesn't have a long shelf life, because he doesn't keep the right people around him, like a guy like Shakur Stevenson does. And as we know, that attributes a lot to your success. Look, you can call Floyd Mayweather whatever you want to call him, right? But one of the things that Floyd was committed to his craft. This is a guy that was training, and he was in Vegas gambling, but you did not see Floyd drinking. You did not see Floyd fucking around when he had to fight, or very close to fight week or during camp. Floyd was always committed. That's something that no one can take away from Floyd Mayweather ever. He might be the most committed fighter we've ever seen step in a ring. He was dedicated to his craft. And Tank, and it's odd that Tank is not, considering the fact that he's next to Floyd all the time. So it'll be interesting to see if what Courtney is saying is going to come to realization. Will that be his future? I'm going to direct this to Will. Will, same question. All 5 fighters, right? Who do you want to see come back in the ring? Who you're most excited to watch again?
Give me Tank Davis, man. No, I'm a believer of. I believe in Tank. He has all the tools. His inconsistency drives me crazy, but he's a special fighter. He can just tweak a few things in his camp, which can be done, because we're not talking about his skill level. His skill level is there. His speed, his power, his counterpunching, his head movement, everything is there. It's just him being disciplined and being consistent every time he steps into the ring. But to answer your question, I want to see Tank. I like Tank, man. He's a ruthless puncher. Great ability. I just want to see him every time. Like, you know how we see Canelo? Every time he shows up in the ring, this man shows out. That's what I want to see Gervonta do. But I want to see Gervonta Davis, how he does coming off his first fight at 135 pounds versus Yorkis Gamboa. Just throw him to the wolves already. I hope Floyd just pulls the plug and says, hey, you're going to have to fight one of these top dogs. I want to see what Gervonta does versus another elite fighter at 135 pounds.
Aaron, same question. Out of the 5 boxers, who are you most excited to watch back in the ring?
Tank Davis is definitely a name to be watched for, but my personal pick is Devin Haney. Someone's if Ryan Garcia has the problem of the ghost of Oscar over him, then it's Haney having the ghost of Mayweather over his shoulder that he has to deal with ever since now he's been training really recently with Floyd. So I want to see how those training sessions have how that will manifest into his upcoming fights going forward as boxing returns from the pandemic shutdown. So for me personally, I want to see Devin Haney. I want to see how he goes forward in this division. I know he hasn't had that much highlight wins compared to a Ryan Garcia or Tank Davis, but now that he's been as we've seen training with Floyd, I want to see how that translates to future fights going forward. So Devin Haney for me.
Devin Haney is another dude who was done at 135. I don't think we see, you know what I'm saying? And that's the reason, you know what I'm saying, I really, you know what I'm saying, I picked Ryan Garcia as far as those names over Devin Haney is because I honestly, I don't think we're going to see Devin Haney back in 135. I think he's going, as he famously said to B-Hop in that clip, you know what I'm saying, fuck it, I'm going to 140. So I think that's where we're at with Devin Haney right now.
Here's who I'm not excited to watch go back in the ring. Starts with an A. I'm not excited to watch Adrian Broner back in the ring. All right, I'm done with Adrian Broner. I have disowned him.
Adrian Broner hasn't been at 135 in like a decade, man. Like, what are you doing, God? What are you doing, God? That was a pot shot right there. Just acknowledge that. But
I'm talking about overall as a boxer. That's why I do not want to watch.
But no, don't try to be slick, guys. Don't try to be slick. We were talking about 135 fighters specifically, and you have to throw that in. That man hasn't fought at 135 like in 10 years, bro.
I understand, but his best days are at 135.
That's all that was.
This is how you redeem yourself. His best days were at 135. But I'm not excited to ever watch Adrian Broner. I actually don't think Adrian Broner actually steps in a ring anymore, to be honest with you. That is my bold prediction. Adrian Broner does not fight again. My bold prediction. Anybody? No, nobody wants to argue against that.
No, I think he fights again.
Definitely fights again, dude. Hey, Adrian Broner is basically selling his chin to the highest bidder out there right now. So you know what I'm saying? If the money is right, AB will be there. AB will be there. AB will be, you know what I'm saying, acting a fool. You know what I'm saying? Coming in, you know what I'm saying, with the Rick Ross beard and the jewelry, and you know what I'm saying, and saying some outlandish shit. But you know what I'm saying, Adrian Broner will fight again. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Adrian Broner back on pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Cause at this point, you know what I'm saying, that the dude is willing to go in with anybody, you know what I'm saying, if the money is right. So, you know what I'm saying? That are these fights really worth, after Pacquiao, are these fights really worth watching or worth paying for anymore? Probably not. But you know what I'm saying, will people continue to do so? Because it's come to a point, and I've said this for a while, people love to see Adrian Broner get his ass whooped. It was like people will pay to see Adrian Broner get his ass whooped, and he's not a dummy. He knows that. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to cash out as much money as possible on the fact that people won't pay to see him get hit in the face.
I mean, you do have a valid point. That's why I do actually watch Adrian Broner. But speaking of that, and you brought up a valid point, and this might be a little bit off topic, but as far as pay-per-view, et cetera, with COVID-19 and this thing this is probably going to remain an issue for a good year and a half until a vaccine comes out. We saw what UFC has done. Dana White's done a great job basically putting fight cards together behind closed doors and, relying on pay-per-view revenue, which has done very well for him these last two fights. Can boxing do the same thing? Or will boxing always rely on a big fight in order to cash in on pay-per-view revenue? And I see, Courtney, you're giving me the nod, and it's the same sentiments that I share. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about it.
Because the thing about Dana White, he can do that because that's what his model has been based on since jump with the UFC. With boxing is marketed and it's traditionally modeled after you pay pay-per-view to see the big fights. Now, as far as where boxing is headed with the streaming, I think that's going to be viable. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at it in essence, the streaming basis, the streaming platform that we're seeing a lot of boxing on right now is kind of like what we usually say like quasi pay-per-view. But as far as boxing just going to riding out this COVID thing where we're only going to put on pay-per-view fights, I honestly don't think. I think the gains that boxing has made, it's going to give those back if it goes to a model like UFC where you're going to have to pay for a big card every month. Because boxing, we've barely come to a point where we've got boxing fans to be willing to come out of pocket for a subscription every month. If you look at UFC, those fans, they do both. They subscribe and they subscribe to the streaming cards, and they and they still will come out of pocket coin for the pay-per-view fights. With boxing, that's going to be a real hard pitch to the boxing fans that remain, and to the people who are just really coming into the fold and getting interested or reinterested in boxing. I think you're definitely going to lose that demographic. So I don't think what UFC is doing is a business model that's going to be sustainable for boxing or to be able to continue to market boxing.
Excellent point. Aaron, same question to you. Are we going to see big names anytime soon step into the ring simply because they're lacking gate revenue? How long can boxing sustain that if that's going to be the case? So let's say stadiums can't be packed for whatever reason, or there's got to be social distancing and you could only fill up 25% of an arena. Will boxing be able to survive? Are they going to continue to postpone certain fights? What do you think is going to be the new landscape of boxing moving forward because of COVID-19?
That's really a hard question to answer, but this is just my hunch. Because of the COVID-19, I think we're going to see a lot less, I hate to categorize this, filler fights. I think people are just going to go straight for the fights people want to see. And as far as the business behind of it, the likes of Bobby Arum, Eddie Hearn, they're going to have to be really creative of how to compensate them really well as a result. But all of that is going to come at the cost of the fighters for the prospects coming up. A lot of mandatory matchups will have to be on the cutting board because of it. So that's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys share the same sentiments or would like to add on, but that's just my hunch.
Tomas Rush.
How dare you say?
What are your sentiments about the topic?
Hey, we've seen a lot about this, man. I mean, Arum, he's trying. Like he's trying. He came out and he was almost willing to go down on his sword, like hardcore with, if you're not willing to help, the game of boxing get back out there, then I'm willing to put you on the shelf. And that was something that he stated, as far as any boxer, and no matter what star level you were, but I think that was just fluff. Like, in the end, I don't really think that that's what he would stick with. And I think that, just because, like what Courtney said, UFC has been that. It hasn't. I mean, they don't necessarily get their bread and butter off of the mega fights. Like, they make a shitload of money off of it, but they're just so damn consistent, and they just keep bringing quality pay-per-views over and over and over. And that's not what boxing's made of. And we don't even have to this point where you've got the stars that aren't willing to get out there and fight if they're not guaranteed their money, they're not paid up front. Understanding, or at least needing to understand the business side of it, that if you don't have those asses in seats, that money's not there to just give, and a business isn't just going to be able to just cough it over to you just because, so it's almost like it's that stalemate. It's the same thing that's been like the Cold War that's been hindering us from a lot of fights for promotional reasons. This is going to be something to where it's the boxers between the promotional companies. And, if you're not going to give that money, we're not going to fight, and we're going to be at a stall for a while. And so I do think that, we get lesser fights, get more, straight to the point. But, I don't necessarily think that boxing is going to be able to do that an easy way, because there's a lot of mega stars out there that aren't willing to take that much of a cut on it.
Absolutely. Will, what's your take on this topic as far as sustainability, the landscape of boxing moving forward? I mean, obviously this is going to hurt revenue for a lot of promoters out there, and and obviously, like what Courtney mentioned, UFC has a completely different model that works during these times. I think UFC, the last pay-per-view event they had, which was in March, did almost 800,000, which is it's incredible, but it's believable because they have a completely different model, than boxing. And boxing, with all these networks and promotional sanctions, etc., it's a little bit more, it's much more difficult. It's almost an obstacle. But what is your opinion on the topic, going forward?
Yeah, boxing definitely can't sustain a lot of pay-per-view fights, and So when PBC first came out, I don't even know how I'm going to answer this question. I'm just going to talk. When PBC first came out, it was free boxing for all. So they're putting it on regular channels. Then Top Rank started with ESPN. ESPN, I mean, you have to pay, that comes in the package. It's not like you're paying $50 for a pay-per-view fight. Now ESPN does ESPN Plus. And Eddie Hearn has DAZN. So they're slowly taking money from us for a good reason. They're putting good fights, but for them to come and put pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, it won't be sustainable. That being said, I think they know they're gonna take a hit, but they're thinking in the long run, this COVID-19, it's not gonna go away, but slowly but surely, Nevada and the other bigger commissions will start letting people in to watch the fights, because and I'm saying this because there are big name fighters that are signed already as a done deal. I'm just gonna give you one fight that's a done deal. In a unification bout, it's gonna be Jamel Charlo versus Jerson Rosario, who just beat J-Rock, Julian Williams. So Jamel is a big name. He's gonna be fighting for a unification. I don't know how they're going to do it or what date, but Jerson Rosario's in training. I know his sparring partner, that fight is a go versus Jamel Charlo. So I'm guessing PBC is going to move forward with big names. They're talking about Leo Santa Cruz and Javante in the fall. And then obviously the one that we all know about, Errol Spence and Danny Garcia, also in the fall. So starting July, they're going to start putting little fights and then start ramping it up. I want to say September, October, November. So we're going to see what's going to happen, how they're going to play this out.
Yeah, and Vegas is going to be a hub for a lot of these, because when we think about Vegas, we always think about the big mega fights. I know for a fact that financially right now, Vegas, even though it just opened up, they're hurting. I follow the markets very well. Vegas is hurting financially right now. And if if it means putting a good boxing card together, Vegas will be the home for that, because they need people going there as soon as possible. Because, I mean, you can literally book a room at the Cosmopolitan. I don't know if you guys ever stayed there, but that's on a normal weekend, that's $600, $700. You can get a room right now at the Cosmo for $90, right? It's insanity. So, and as these guidelines for COVID-19 start becoming more lenient, I think you'll see a lot of promotional companies, whether it's Top Rank or Al Heyman, et cetera, strike good deals for fights in Vegas right now, because it seems like they're willing to make it happen, because they need people to go back there. It isn't just about gambling. It's, filling up seats and getting people to spend money at the hotels and spas and restaurants, et cetera. So they need the economy to stimulate. So I think you might see a trend of more and more fights, not necessarily big fights, going to happen in Vegas moving forward. But
can Florida get some love?
Florida should get some. I was just there, man. It didn't seem people cared about the COVID-19.
No, that's what I'm saying. Ron DeSantis is opening up everything. He's telling everyone to come down here.
Yeah, every restaurant that I went to on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and I went out every night to eat, and every restaurant was packed. I'm telling you, not packed because they were only allowing 25% capacity or 50% capacity. I mean, they used up every space you could possibly think of. It was that packed. I couldn't get a seat in any restaurant. It took me 30 minutes to park my car 2 nights that I was there. And every bar that I wanted to watch this past UFC fight with Amanda Nunes. And every bar I went to, packed. Couldn't even get in. I had to go back to I was staying at, had to order the pay-per-view fight. So, yeah, I mean, Florida might, same thing. Might see them be more willing to strike a deal with promotional companies to bring good boxing fights over that you would normally not see in Florida happen. Look, UFC fight, not the past one, the second one before that happened in March, happened in Florida. I think Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yep.
Yeah. So, both Florida and Vegas, you might see them take over that fighting. Obviously, when we talk about boxing, Vegas always come to mind.
Yes.
For big fights, but for a fight like Charlo and Rosario, that's not normally a fight you would see in Vegas. But that might be a fight that could very well take place in Vegas or in Florida. So you're going to see those two. You're going to see both Nevada and Florida more than likely make a good run at some of these boxing fights, just to bring back some sort of stimulation to the economy overall. But gentlemen, it's that time. You look tired, man. You look like you shouldn't have driven to Atlanta today.
I'm hurting right now.
Yeah, I could tell. It's that time. This is the conclusion of episode 51, Standing 8 podcast, with my usual suspects, Courtney Tanner, Tommy Rush, Aaron, and Will Montero from Sidestep Boxing. Thank you for coming on and always being a delight to talk to. But next episode, hopefully soon, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right?
Good night, everyone.
Take care. Thank you,
man.
Hey, I want to get paid in one single bill. Just bring me the 100. That's all. Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle. I'll take all three. All right, gents. Salute. Have a great night.
Episode 51.
All right, man. Take care.
Peace.